So today is your first lecture about weed management. So we start with the general introduction of weeds and weed management. So the term weed is first of all we also know about the learning objective. After this lecture you have learned about what is weed, what are the classification, what are the different principles of weed management, what are the controlling measures and losses by weeds. So you gather knowledge about general terms, that is weeds. Okay.
Okay, ma'am.
So the term weeds, okay, the term weed is derived from a Greek word. And the second thing is that the definition of weed is it is the unwanted, undesirable plant that grown in our main field and interfere with our land resources, our soil, our plants, and which directly and indirectly harm our crop production and also the human welfare, because some of the weeds are noxious also, some are toxic also, either to humans or animals, and for the crops also. So the term weed is given by Jethro Tull. Okay. Student, listen the lecture carefully, because after this lecture I will also conduct the polls session. So listen the lecture carefully, and if you have any doubt, just raise your hand and I will take your query. Okay. So another definition of weed, it is an unwanted plant going where it is not desired or where it is not required. And further, if it is grown in our main field, it directly harm our crop, because it takes all the nutrients, all the resources which is essential for our crop. Weed can also take it easily. Okay. So there are a number of characteristics of weeds, but some are like they thrive well even under adverse condition. They have the spreading potential of weeds are very, I can say, very fast, because they can grow vegetatively. If like something, I can say, if you pluck it out any kind of weed, so if you throw it like without burning it, and if you throw it in your field, and after some days you see that that would again regenerate into a full plant. So they can reproduce also, they can spread through vegetatively purpose also. And the regeneration capacity of the weeds are much more than our crop. Okay, because you know our crops are cross pollinated, or I can say self pollinated. They can, some of the crops I can say regenerate through any part of the plant, but majorly the crops are self in them there is a sexual reproduction. Okay. So they also compete, the weeds also compete with the cultivated crop, as they take all its nutrients, all its resources which is required for the crop. They can easily take it and start competing with them. And they have a very large number of seeds as compared to our crop. Like in case of wheat, the spike have 40 to 48 seeds, but the weeds a single weed spike contain near about thousands of seeds. Okay. And they can be remain viable. The term viable means the capacity to germinate. So the capacity of the weed germination is quite higher than our crop. Okay, and they will survive in the crop for many years. Okay, in the soil also. Once they get mixed with our crop, they also interfere with the crop after we sown it. So you see, now it is a rainy season, right? And you say there is a very good growth of weeds right now. And for controlling them, there is quite difficult to control them, because they can germinate very fast in very few days. We can't control it like this, so we need to spray some kind of weedicides and chemicals to control, but mostly we prefer manually distortion of these weeds. So losses of agriculture. So as you seeing on the slide that the total annual loss to the agriculture produce is through weeds is 45%, in through insects is 30%, through diseases is 20%, and other pests that is near about less than 1%. So the maximum damage caused to our agricultural production is through weeds, that is 45%. So there is a need to control weeds so that our agriculture produce can't go into a loss. So as we all are doing agriculture, so everyone needs a profit. If you are working somewhere or you are doing any kind of work, you need profit. Okay, we don't go to the loss side. So here you see that weeds get 45% losses. The percentage of the weeds are maximum in the agriculture, so it's quite difficult. Okay, so the percentage is higher only because of their spreading capacity, their dispersal capacity. The term dispersal means spreading. Okay, these are the multiple terms we are used for spreading. So different kind of problems also come due to weeds, like nutrient losses, water losses, light penetration, space competition, insect and diseases, increased cost of production, low quality crop, and handling crop, allelopathic effect. So so let's start our next topic, that is the classification of weeds. So there is a total 9 classification of weeds. So I will tell you one by one. So similar to crop, like lifespan के ऊपर based है, water के ऊपर based, aquatic होंगी. So these are ecology के base पे. So these are different kind of, I can say, lifespan on the divided on the conditions. Okay, based on lifespan there is, जैसे annual crops होती हैं, biennial crops होती हैं, perennial crops होती हैं, वैसे ही annual weeds, biennial weeds and perennial weeds. So this is the first classification based on lifespan of weeds. So the study of lifespan is known as ontogeny. So the annual weeds are those weeds which complete their full life cycle, complete their life cycle in one season or in a year, that are annual weeds. Okay, they are small herbs and they have shallow roots and weak stems. And one thing more, they have propagated through seeds, means they have sexual reproduction. And some of the examples is monsoon annuals and winter annuals. So the monsoon annuals are Comelina bengalensis and Duri muricata, and winter annuals, that is Chenopodium album. So I will show you a picture. Wait. Is my screen visible?
Yes, ma'am.
So have you seen any kind of these annual weeds in your related area or in your area?
Yes, ma'am. Yes,
Which
ma'am.
one? Which
Yes,
one?
ma'am.
Chenopodium album. Ma'am, Bengalensis an album.
Good day, album.
Okay. So Comelina
Last one.
bengalensis and Chenopodium. Chenopodium album is also present here also in a large amount. Okay, known as Bathu. Okay, then Comelina bengalensis. So these are the weeds. If you have some annual weeds, then biennial weeds are they complete the vegetative growth in first season, because biennial means two, annual means one or a season, biennial means two. Okay, 2 years or a 2 seasons. So firstly they complete their vegetative growth in first season, and in succeeding season there is a seed formation. Okay, then they die. So they are found mainly in non-cropped areas, means in those areas where there is no cropping. Okay, so the example is Docus carota. It's look like a carrot. The plant of carrot na, that the same, this will look like the same, but when you pluck it out na, there is nothing. Okay, so that's why that is Docus carota. Next is the perennials. As the term perennial means, they can live for more than 2 years. The life of these perennial weeds are, you can't guess it how many years they can live. So they can survive in the adverse climatic condition. जो हम बोल सकते हैं ढीठ होते हैं ना, जो फर्क ही नहीं पड़ता, वैसे these are those kind of weeds, and they propagate through roots, rhizome, tubers. Okay, but they don't propagate through weeds, seeds. ठीक है, हम seeds नहीं लगाते इनके, ये अपनी roots के through, okay, अपने leaves के through, अपने tubers के through further फैलते हैं. First is the Cynodon dactylon, that is doob grass. Second is Cyprus rotundus, that is motha. Then sorghum herpensis. This is also a type of grass. Okay, so Cynodon dactylon you have seen everywhere. Cyprus rotundus. Next is based on ecological affinities. They are divided into wetland, dryland. Okay, so what first we have to study about wetland weeds. They are the annuals. Okay, and they can be grown in semi-aquatic habit. Semi-aquatic means they can live in water also. They can live without water also. Okay, semi-aquatic. Can thrive well. They can grow well under waterlogged condition and partially dry condition. And the example is Eclipta alba. Okay. Next is the garden land weeds. They are the irrigated. They can be in irrigated lands, and actually these weeds neither require large quantity of water. Okay, they don't need a large amount of water. मिल गया तो भी ठीक है, नहीं मिला तो भी ठीक है. But they can survive in drought conditions also. Okay, and that's why they are also known as dryland weeds. So one is Trianthema puertucalestrum and Digeria arvensis. Next are dryland weeds. So these are those weeds which can survive in dry areas also. Like अगर पानी नहीं भी मिल रहा है, जहाँ पे पानी नहीं वहाँ तो आपको मिलेगा ही. ठीक है, like Argemone mexicana. You can see this weed in wheat crop. बहुत ज़्यादा होता है. Next is Tribulus terrestris. So this will also grow in dry areas, and they are hardy plants and they have deep rooted system. Okay, is the based on soil type. If there is a term edaphic anywhere, either in your question paper or either in your normal general exams, so the term edaphic means soil. Weeds of black cotton soil, they have divided into weeds of red soil, weeds of light and sandy soil, wheat of laterite soils. So weeds of black cotton soil, this soil is basically famous for cotton growing, and they have high amount of organic matter. That's why it's known as black cotton soil. Okay, and the weed grown on this soil is Agistochia bracteata. Okay, I know these names are quite difficult, but I know you can learn. All are very intelligent. Yes or no?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
That's quite good. So next are weeds of red soils. So this is the same weed as Commelina bengalensis. These are the garden, they are grown in the garden land and contain various classes of plants. That means it has number of species. Okay, next is the light and sandy loamy soils. So these weeds are grown in soils which having good drainage. Means that soil in which there is a good water holding capacity. Okay, so sandy loam soils have a good water holding capacity. So that means they have a good drainage. So the example, the weeds grown in these kind of soil, that is Leucas aspera. Okay, then the weeds of laterite soil. The laterite soils are those soils which contains the oxides of iron. Okay, they are basically they are red in color. So the weeds come in these kind of soil is Lantana camara and Spergula arvensis. Have you seen? This is the image of different weeds. Aristochia, Bracteata, Camelina bengalensis, Leucas aspera, and Lantana camara. Next is the based on place of occurrence. So here is the weeds of croplands, pasture land, wastelands, and playgrounds or roadsides. So weeds of cropland means the weeds which are grown in our main crop. Okay, like the major weed of wheat is Phalaris minor. The major weed of rice is sorry, wait a minute. Echinocloa crusculi, the major weed of rice. Okay. Similarly, Cyprus rotundus is major weed of all the cereal crops, including barley, maize, oats. Next is weeds of pasture lands. That lands which are, I can say that is for grazing purpose only. So the weed is Indigofera aniphylla. Okay, then the weeds of wastelands means the corners of the field, the channels, the water channels. The example is Calotropis giganteum. Okay, then the weeds on playgrounds. इसमें आप बहुत सारे दे सकते हो, Cyprus rotundus दे सकते हो, Cyanidon dactylon दे दो, Tribulus terrestris. So these are the weeds. ये तो first is Phalaris minor, that is in cropland. Next is Indigofera aniphylla, that is in
pasture land.
in pasture. Good. Then Calotropis giganteum, that is in
Wasteland.
Wastelands,
good. Then Tribulus terrestris, that is in
playground and roadside.
good. Very nice. Based on origin. So based on origin, there is two types: indigenous weed and exotic weeds. So indigenous means that is native to a particular country, means India, America. Okay. So indigenous weeds are those weeds which are native to their own country. So the example is Abutilon indicum. Then the exotic weed that is introduced from other countries to India or to one country from another country. Okay, so these weeds are troublesome and difficult to control. The Parthenium is staphylococcus. So I will show you the diagram. That is, first is Butilon indicum. Second is Parthenium staphylococcus, as I already showed you in my practical of weed management. And next is based on cotyledon number, means as you know, in crops also we also divided on the basis of cotyledon. So here also we divided into cotyledons, that monocot weed and dicot weed. So the monocot weed is Echinocloa colonna. Okay, and dicot weed is Indigofera viscosa. Monocot means it has a single cotyledon. Dicot means it has a two cotyledons. Is that clear to everyone?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Next is based on morphology. So morphology means based on its physical appearance. So it means weed. Okay, based on the weed physical appearance. We have divided into grasses, sedges, broadleaf, narrow leaf. So in grasses, you see there is a single leaf. Okay, so these are narrow leaves, weeds. Okay, the example is Cyanodon dactylon, Cyprus rotundus. Right, getting my point? Here you see it is mentioned here that having long, narrow, spiny leaves. Okay. Then sedges, it's belong to the family Cyperaceae, and the leaves are mostly from the base. Okay, that originate from the base of the modified stem. Okay, with or without tubers. You know, Cypress rotundus have a tuber underground. That's why it can't be controlled, because when we pluck it out, we get the root somewhere, but we can't get that tuber. And that tuber remain in the soil, and it again and again starts I can say बार बार वो ग्रो करता रहता है. ठीक है. Next is the broadleaf weeds. The example is Digeria arvensis. Okay. So good morning to all the students. In previous class, we studied about what are weeds, what are their properties, what are their characteristics, what are the losses they have done. And now we have to study our previous class remaining lecture. Okay. So in previous lecture, we studied about 8 classifications of weeds. Now we have to study about the 9th classification, that is based on specificity. So beside the various classes of weed, the specificity means a specific factor of a particular weed. So they are divided into 3 parts. One is poisonous weed, second is parasitic weeds, and third is aquatic weed. So the term poisonous means that is toxic in nature. So those with which are toxic in nature and cause death and any great loss, that come under poisonous weeds. And these weeds are very, I can say, they are harmful to animals because they are grown with the livestock fodder or forage crops, okay, that we are feeding to our grazing animals or our cattle. So these weeds, when eaten up by that particular, I can say, animal or our cattle. So they cause very injury to, or I can say death to the plant, to the animals as well as to the human beings. So the example is the Tura fastuosa. Okay, so this would you already seen in your nearby area. So next is the parasitic weeds. So the term parasite means any living organism that completely or partially completed their life cycle on any other organism for food or other purpose. That the term is parasite. So parasitic weeds, they can be totally or partially live on the host plant, and they are when the weeds are totally live on the host plant, that are known as total weed parasite. Okay, and when they partially depend upon host, they are known as, I can say, partial parasites. So the example of the total parasites are total parasitic weeds are, they are divided into two. One is root parasitic and another is stem parasitic. Then further they are divided into total root parasite and partial root parasite. Similarly, total stem parasite and partial stem parasite. So in total root parasite, the example is Orobanche cernua on tobacco, and the partial root parasite is Triga lutea on sugarcane. The total root parasite or partial root parasite means they can harm the root. They can live on the root part of the plant. Okay, that's why they are known as total and partial root parasites. Another one is total stem parasite and partial stem parasite. So the total stem parasite example is Cuscutia chinensis on onion and lucerne, and partial stem parasite is Loranthia longiflorus on mango, and Cassatha filiformis on orange trees. Okay, so these are the example of total root parasite, partial root parasite, total stem parasite, and partial stem parasites. These are the images of the following weeds. That first is the Orobanche cernua, then Striga lutea, then Cuscutia chinensis, then Cassatha filiformis. Okay, guys, if you have any doubt or any query, you may raise your hand. Okay, after the lecture, then I will take the query session at that time. Next, the third one is the aquatic weeds. So the term aquatic means water. Okay, so the weeds that are grown under the water or in the submerged condition, that are the aquatic weeds, and they complete their life cycle by remaining in the water. Okay, then they are further divided into submerged, immersed, and merged and floating. So the submerged weeds are those weeds which, I can say, vesicular part as the image is shown below, and especially they are underground. Submerged means they are live underground in the water. The example is Articularia and Ceratophyllum. Okay, these are the example of submerged bees. They are underground, beneath the water surface. We can't see it upper surface of the water. We can see them when we go under the water. Next is the immersed weed. These weeds live the root system of these weeds live. I can say under the water, but the stems, the flower, the stem, the leaves portion come out of the water. Okay, the stem and flower part are aerial. I can say the example is Jusia repens and Nilumbium speciosum. So these are two images of the weeds. That I think you have seen in your nearby area, if you have the riverside or lakeside in your area. So they are kind of floating waves. Next is the margin weeds. They grow along the river, not in between the river or lake. They go along on the sides of the river. Okay, shoreline I can say, and the depth of these I can say depth of the water of these weeds are 60 to 90 centimeter. Okay, and these weeds are very inside. Mostly they are belongs to I can say Gramini family or Poaceae family. Then the example is Typha and Scirpus. So I think you have seen them already. Next are the floating weeds. This is the Iconia crassips. This is the, I can say they can a big or a very vast weed, floating weed that harms our crops also and our water also. And they float over the water surface. As the water is moving, they also start moving from one place to another. And जैसे हम बोल सकते हैं दलदली इलाके में ये बहुत पाए जाते हैं. These Iconia crassip, also known as water hyacinth. Okay. Now, another is Nymphia cubensis. It look like lotus, but that is not lotus. Okay. So these are the floating weeds. So this is all about the previous lecture. And if you want to study about weed management, you can buy these books by Weed Management by U.S. Walia and Weed Management by O.P. Gupta. And also you have the syllabi of weed management also covered in Principle of Agronomy by Reddy and Reddy. And if you don't want to buy any kind of book, you can also follow this hyperlink. Okay, you can found there the syllabi of your subject. Okay, so this is all about this lecture.